to this week's July the 9th showing of L&P Thunder Series, our main event here at Lanes Raceway on Sunday, where we got all of our pro racers here racing for big pots, big money, big checks. So right now we can see all of our racers getting their stuff lined up. The information given to the setouts is if you're on deck, you're in control of the button, which is attached to that chair in your upper right-hand portion of your screen by the donut. That is to remain attached to that chair so that nobody holds it in their hand. We're trying to keep this go as green as possible. Yet again tonight, we've got all the spots, the hot spots glued, ready to go racing. I'm going to walk out there real quick and lay this microphone out so you can hear the cars go, and I'll be right back with you. Live microphone. Okay, but it's live.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Did you hear me?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back.
Good afternoon, people.
Give a go ahead. All right, racers. Oh, I think my mom is actually talking into the other microphone. Racers, are you ready?
Yeah, it was live because he's explaining right now. That's my mom.
Watch your lights. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to go green racing here.
Yeah, I understand what I got on.
Right now, Glenn Burton on green, Bruce on orange, Randy on blue, Clay on yellow, Paul on purple, and the rest are ghosts. We got a couple set outs here. Like I said, Tom Payton there. He's on the button. And he can get to that car quick, which he does a well job. Got quite a bit of pinball going on here tonight. Everybody doing their best to get those high scores. We see Jackson and my mother there working on it. Looks like Mom's on Mandalorian, Jackson on Godzilla. I usually turn the pinball machines off, but it's been a little bit hectic here today, so we just left them on. So don't mind them. We can still get some pretty good views here from our blimp cam, the best that we can anyway. As we can see Tom Payton there kind of leaning up against the chair there around the donut portion of the track. Looks like a better view here is in the bottom right-hand portion of the screen. Got the lights set up on white so that we can, maybe not cause as many incidents from the distraction of the LEDs flashing back and forth. But we do still have a short for some reason in the one LEDs. I don't know if it's a short or if we're inducing power with all the slot cars. See Jay Latham coming in there on clutch, helping Tom Payton hit the button there as he was going to try to get some cars there around the horseshoe portion of the track. Randy Curley out in the lead, but right there behind him, Bruce Boynton using his new controller that Alicia and his whole family got him. So, I mean, that's pretty nice of them for sure to come in there and get him a brand new 280 Pro controller. I think it's a Pro. 280, right? Yeah, 280, so not a Pro. But anyways, getting a 280 controller, he said, man, I can tell a big difference just the way that it feels as he was practicing a little bit earlier. And, of course, he was running a 3-3 on red lane. So Bruce has definitely got a smoke show of a car out there. Currently, his best lap is 3.503. Randy Curley right at a 3-3 is his best lap. But their medians are there really, really close together. Like I said, Bruce has got a fast machine, that American muscle Cobra car. And we've definitely missed Bruce, as we also know that Jackson, he's been really missing Bruce too there in the rookie series the past week. He's been saying, I need Bruce back. He's my main competition. So we'll see how things go tonight if Bruce gets up in the rookie rumble afterwards. But right now, everybody running pretty close together in the 30s or so. Clay there at 26 laps. Hardly any wrecks take a place here, and that's a blessing for sure. As all these guys are running as hard as they can. Like I said, we glued the track really, really well to help push some of that glue around the track for the fish tires that the guys are mostly running. Might be a good opportunity now to maybe swap over to some Wonder Rubber or something like that, because we have so much rubber laid on this track. It might be more beneficial when coming to grip terms there with your car. If those Wonder Rubbers really do like the grip from that rubber on the track. But anyways, treated fish and fish tires, they still do really well also. But I find that if the rubber gets a little bit too greasy with track glue, they don't tend to hook it as good as some of the Wonder Rubber can hook. So as we can see here, we get a track call, but a hard hit there. Tom Payton did the best that he could there, getting to that track call button. But it seemed to be just a little bit too late, as we might have had a rider there. I don't know whose lane it was, but it was a full throttle hit there. Looks like Jay Latham's taking a look at the car. As we hear Glenn Burton say behind the counter. I think that might have scared my mom a little bit. She was talking to Jackson there. So there he was on green lane, Glenn Burton there on green lane. Valiant effort to try to get the track off there, but just a little too late. These cars are flat motivating around here, ladies and gentlemen. 25, 30 mile an hour cars. Our track marshals do the best that they can. I think Tom did an exceptional job there trying to get it off. That's just racing, folks. Sometimes the cars pop off and go in other lanes. Keep them fast, you got to keep them low. And when you're keeping them low, you're running the risk up on the higher lanes, whether or not you blip. And that might have just been what took place. So it could have been a little bit of an incident there through the horseshoe. I didn't actually catch it live as I was looking at the laps turned currently during that. We can see Bruce Thornton and Paul Woosley there on orange, and well, actually Glenn, Paul, and Bruce all within a lap of each other there, running very, very aggressively with one another. But Bruce and Paul on the same lap there, purple, as we see Paul take the lead in front of Bruce there on purple lane. Like I said, these guys are running neck and neck here. Bruce coming back into the gate, new controller, getting used to that. But man, doing a good job there, getting used to it as his car is streamlining through the backstretch there. Paul Woosley, he's been working on his car all week long. Last night didn't leave, or not last night, I'm sorry, Friday night, did not leave until 10:30. He was working so hard on his car. He is really out to try to catch Randy Curling. We can see he's got him within one lap right now. 3.47, 3.47. Randy and Paul Woosley, both of these guys neck and neck. Best lap, 3.303, 3.299. It's going to be tough. We're going to see what's happening here, but we see Paul Woosley's car, I guess, up underneath the bridge there. Came off as they were on the same lap. Now I see that he's a couple laps down. But running really, really tight racing here. And like I said, that's the difference between a race right there. You're looking at it. So Paul wrecked there. He was on the same lap as Randy, and just one wreck. That's what it does to you. So now he's relying on Randy to have a wreck so he can get those 2 laps back. And Randy's pretty stone cold for sure when he races. So it's going to be tough. But I'll say this much, these guys, they really have been pushing hard here lately to try to bridge that gap between some of the racers that are just a little bit more higher in skill. And this year, or this season alone, this year too, but this season alone, I've noticed that Paul Woosley and Bruce have really been trying to push it to that level. Where they were in the same kind of category as some of the other racers, they're now advancing themselves just a little bit higher. Of course, Glenn Burton too, he's constantly working on his car, at least in the past couple of series with Glenn. Just a little bit of bad luck, to be honest, getting caught up in some wrecks underneath the bridge. And this is the majority of guys that what happens to them. They get caught up in wrecks, and some of these chassis are so frail, even though they're really fast when they're frail, but they take one good hit and the rest of the race you're bent. So what we just seen there with Glenn, could have ruined his race day right there because he hit so hard. Could have busted his guide flag off and he could be setting out. 30 seconds is what these guys get to be able to make that fix. See Loki Jackson, also known as Action Jackson, winning his race earlier today in Little Rumble. He says, "What's up, man?" I said, "Well, what's up, Jackson?" I'm going to take you guys over to the current standings here at Lanes Raceway for the week of July 6th, or I guess it'd be July 2nd, but anyways, this is an update from July 2nd. These are all current up until today. So today's scores have not been implemented yet, but they are updated since Thursday. So take a look at these current race point standings there. Don't mind Jackson over there with a 1.6717. That's supposed to be in a comma. But nonetheless, take a look at those, and we'll be back with you shortly. we're going by Green Racing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot again. Our air shuts off at 5 o'clock. I was wondering why I was starting sweating here. Got a little bit busy there before the race started. Of course, getting everybody's names put in and everything else. And I forgot to go out there and check to see if the air conditioner went off. Well, it did at 5 o'clock sharp. So it's a good 75 degrees in here, 80 degrees. But thank goodness that little split unit, it really works. And we got all these fans moving air around. It does not feel bad in here, and it'll cool off here shortly. As we get two cars coming off, one of those cars, Bruce Bullington. Another one kind of looks like Paul Woosley's, but it's hard to tell there as both of them took a jaunt. One of them splitting the pole to the left and the other one splitting the pole to the right. You can see them there underneath the track here. Good hard collision took place there. Definitely not what you want to see when you're trying to race for the lead, but those guys definitely need to go behind the line. See Robert Bishop there with the hook of life. Let's see if he's good at snagging one. Yes, Action Jackson, a big wreck indeed. And Robert Bishop with the hooks of life does so and does well getting that car. Jay Latham going to get him put behind the line. I'll tell you right now, Alicia, your dad's car, I just watched him when he hooked up his brand new controller. That thing is flying. When he hooked it up, it was a daylight and dark difference. I didn't think that just having that little bitty wire there to that relay made that much of a difference. But he turned a 3.3 with pretty much ease. And as you can see, he's running there pretty close with Paul Woosley there in third place. But he ran a 3.3 on red. It only took him like 2 laps. Yeah, he's got that baby freed up. Once he gets used to that controller, and you can also tell he's blipping there on white, which I think that's a pretty good deal to do, especially as fast as his car is rolling. As it comes off on the backstretch there, it could be a bend there. Looks like Bruce is definitely going to want to take a look at that car after that incident where he came off the track. But I will say this much, that thing is zooming for sure. Now, a lot of these guys have opted out, too, to running the TWP speed braid. And I'll tell you what, as good silver type braids go, that is the best that I've seen in a long time. Jay Latham fumbles Bruce's car there. He gets it put back on in a timely fashion. When I say timely, I'm talking real timely. He must have caught that with his left hand. We'll have to start calling Jay Reflex Jay, because those are some pretty good reflexes we see in there. And we see his car popping out yet again there on White Lane there on the backstretch. I'm thinking this is possibly an issue there with his braid, probably just a little bit high there. Probably something he would want to take a look at. I know I would look at it. But yeah, I believe that's what's causing his car to pop out there right now currently. One of the braids are just a little bit high on one side. If he does it again this next coming lap, we'll definitely take a look at it. He looks like he made it through there. As Paul Woosley comes off, this is what Bruce was wanting to see. Paul Woosley having some real big trouble here trying to get his nose back in there as we see Bruce Bullington's car come off yet again on the backstretch. Paul, would you please take a look at the braids on that car? Just getting Paul to take a look at those braids, make sure that they're down, because that's the third time I've seen that happen there on the backstretch. That just is indicative of there's something going on with one of those cars. So now, I will say this, if he was coming off right here, that just means he wasn't blipping. Y'all know that. So right now, we got a pretty good race there between Paul and Bruce. Glenn also. Glenn, he's starting to bridge the gap a little bit there with Bruce. Bruce is going to need either a shove through. Yeah, he's going to need a shove through over there on the white lane. Okay, looks like they got that. Let's just make an announcement. Anytime you see the star on the lap, that means they got it. Go ahead and push them through the line. You guys know the routine. But right now we got medians of 3.48, 3.51 of Randy Curley, sorry. Best lap of 3.325. Paul Woosley at 3.37 with a median of 3.6. We got a best lap from Bruce of a 3.562 and a median of 3.94. 3.629 of Glenn and 3.88. 3.8 of Clay Dame, 3.9 medium. 3.7 best lap for Tom, and a 4.18 on Red. I'll tell you what, everybody is just right there neck and neck together, really. Of course, you know, red lane is tough because you got to brake so much sooner, but there's very few people that I know that set their controllers up for red lane. But if you do have a lot better chance of rolling through red a lot better and quicker. Randy Kirtley, that's his fastest lane. But he sets his controller for that. The best way to do it is to take your trigger, put it in the first band, take your sensitivity, run it as slow as it possibly can. So in other words, the car's not on move. Then gradually move it up. Let it run through the backstretch with it gradually being up where it's crawling. You want it to crawl just enough that when it wrecks, you tack it back just a hair. Once you do that, you got your sensitivity set for red lane. Now once you do this, when you're in that corner to get back in the accelerator, now you can do a bigger trigger pull without it trying to jolt out. And that's how the pros set their stuff up to keep themselves from jolting out on those tighter corners like that. And that's also why they can pull a lot faster speed through the red corner.
Get ready.
Robert Bishop getting the car of Tom Payton put back on red. Sounds like I'm hearing a body drag on one of these cars. Oop, like Paul Woodsy got hung up there on the horseshoe on black. I try to negate some of the sheer aggression on the throttler coming out of the S-turn here by putting a little glue here to help the guys before that they're, you know, the car would naturally start dipping its nose down. Where I place the glue has been strategic for those reasons, to help the guys learn the rhythm just a little bit better so that they're not dive bombing. The biggest place they like to dive bomb their guide flags in this corner here, right in the hump, and they love to dig it right in like that. So when they come out of the corner, they'll dig their nose in those spots on their lane. And that's why I put that glue there to kind of just step them up, stutter them up a little bit so that they don't end up doing that. But sometimes they still do it, and that ends up rolling the braid. Ends up being a little bit of an issue for them for the rest of the heat. So what we have to do after the heat is take the roller there. So right there on black, I'm sure it's rolled up now where it's been dug into, and it'll just need to be rolled. So after the heat, I'll roll out there. I'll probably leave you guys with some pinball scores this next heat when it's done, and just make sure that the track's good and rolled down for the next person that goes. Sometimes if it gets too bad in between track calls, you know, the guys will tend to do that and fix it. We see Clay Dane coming out there on orange. Jay Latham able to get him in there. We see Paul Woosley getting hung up yet again there on black lane. Like I said, black lane causing a little bit of an issue there. I find it, especially on this track here versus other tracks, that it's best to run a smaller length guide flag than it is a longer one. Trying a longer one, you know, helps you stay in around donuts and stuff like that. But if the corners are so tight and pressing, or the S-turn, especially like if you look at red right here, how tight that is, or you look how tight red is around here, longer guide flags can sometimes get pinched, especially if they're weighted. Those weights can step out. We've seen examples of this a couple weeks ago with Jay, where his weight actually stepped out, also bruised up underneath the bridge there on white lane. And everybody was thinking something was in the track, but in actual reality, it was just where the weight had stepped out on the guide flag and kind of pinched in between the slots. So like I said, a smaller style like graphite coker guide flag, something of that nature definitely goes a long way for these racers. But I mean, even with what they're doing here, some of the guys have opted altogether to just get rid of the weight completely out of their guide flag. Now, of course, you get rid of the weight out of the guide flag, that makes the front end light. And that could be some of the reasons why we're starting to see some of the guys lifting out of the track on the back stretch here, riding in other people's lanes, simply because they don't have that weight now on the front end. A lot of factors go into how well a car can handle, but one of the best factors I've always known is keep it straight, keep it true, keep it flat, and keep it low to the ground as you can. And all those things right there work together in tangent to make the best race car, in my opinion. I don't like the stagger. I don't like keeping one wheel out in front of the other. None of that mess. Because issues just like that, where cars end up coming up on their side, happens more often. I'm not saying that that blue lane car of Glenn Burden actually has stagger in his car, because I know he doesn't. But you know, those things can take place, especially if you have more weight on one side than the other. If this was an oval track, maybe some of that understanding could be well known. I suppose be a good idea. But as for a crisscrossing GP style track like the orange, not so much, because you're going left and right, and staggering your weight to those sides is not necessarily a good thing. We got 4 or 5 cars there bunching up, and it was pretty cool to see that they all made it except one. That one car was Tom Payton there on red, as he pushed just a little hard there on red lane. You guys know how the bunches do. When they get bunched up like that, it's just a matter of time before the resolve of man comes in and somebody gets it up. 10 laps down currently. We're going to go into scene 4, and you guys can take a look at this for, oops, sorry about that. Taking a look at this, Randy Kirtley there out in the lead, 167, 83.5. Right behind him there with 157, 10 laps down is Paul Woosley, 78.5, causing a little bit of issues there on black lane, getting hung up. That's where he's lost most of his laps there. Bruce having some issues there also on his white lane, coming out of the track there, causing him a couple laps. So they're kind of right there with each other. But after he got his braids pushed back down, he was in good fashion there. Now they're within 1 lap of each other. 10 laps separates Glenn from Clay Dame, and Tom Payton just freshly getting in with 60 would have been relative to somewhere around 120 laps. So these guys running right there with each other, all boils down to about 1 or 2 wrecks so far is what I'm seeing from people per heat. Randy Kirtley staying pretty much flawless there. I haven't seen him wreck just yet. But anyways, we'll leave you here with some pinball scores, our latest pinball scores. You can see more names up there now. Always come down here and give it a shot if you think you got the skills to compete. Get down here and compete with these guys. We always love the competition here at Lanes Raceway. We'll be right back with you here in about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Five seconds and we'll be back into this race. Just talked to Bruce. I asked him if he thought it was his braid. He said no. Something's going on. I can't remember exactly what he said with his car. But then I went out there to go fix the black lane, and Jay's like, yeah, that's where he ran her in there. I said, yeah. So I got black flattened back out there, so it should be running pretty good now. And I'll just keep my eyes out for anything else. We had a track call, something going on there with Jay Latham, or Clay Dame, sorry. Clay was riding on Jay's lane. It was nice of Jay not to floor him into the wall. Seems like White's being a problem child here, coming on the backstretch. These cars are definitely running a lot faster than they was last Sunday. see Paul Woosley's car there having a little trouble getting put back in on yellow. It's like I was telling the guys the other day, I truly believe that when we get all these cars on here, the power supply, pumps a little bit more voltage, just so that it doesn't like massively drain the batteries out. And I think that's how these guys are able to turn those low 3-second times and even sometimes 3.2s. But it's very rare. When the car's out there by itself, they run a 3.380, 3.390, something like that. But we're seeing 3.2s here by Randy Kirtley here, 3.295. And it's just a little bit of difference. We're talking hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second. But I believe that the track's actually outputting that amount. As we see Paul Woosley now taking over second place, but right there behind him, nipping at his toes, is Glenn Burton. And not too far off is Clay Dane there with 160 laps. Tom Payton, of course, this being his second time in, running 83 laps so far total. Total laps for this heat, 24 laps. So he's right there with the guys, about one lap down from the second group of people. Randy Kirtley, of course, a couple laps ahead of both Paul and Glenn. But Tom Payton and Glenn Burton there running 27 laps respectively. And Clay and Jay running the same amount of laps of 23. So it's kind of funny how these guys, they kind of get in there together and they're running there side by side with each other, and they end up kind of mimicking each other throughout the track. And I know you guys have noticed this before. They'll run several laps there side by side with each other, and they could be, 100, 500, 600ths of a second down from the main pace lap, and then we'll start seeing cars come up behind them. Well, then they try to push just a little bit harder to try to keep up with those people, and that's where you end up seeing incidents take place, is because they get out of their comfort zone. It's better to stay in their comfort zone and gradually push on their own merit, like whenever they get to that point that they feel like, I think I could give her a little bit more in the donut, than it is to try to instantly grab those extra hundredths of a second that some of the guys that have a little bit more practice try to do. But, it's all about learning. It's all about trying to get a little bit better the next time. Just because you win one race or you win two races, people shouldn't quit racing. It's all about, we need to make it faster. I like to think of the Isle of Man TT in that aspect. That, if you win the Isle of Man TT, that is definitely some good bragging rights for sure. Those guys are risking leg, limb, and life on the line racing those motorcycles like they do. But, it comes with a badge of honor when you win one of those. But at the same aspect, once you win one, well, now you got to defend the title. You got to come back the next time. We got to push these times even faster, make it even more dangerous, essentially. We see Jay Latham coming end over end there as he's trying to grab just a little bit more time through that portion of the track. Got a track car here, one on its lid there on the horseshoe portion of the track. We'll see my mom there get that car put back on. Thank you, Mother.
Get ready.
Following the track marks, I've seen it. Jay. So it looks like Clay Dane's car coming off there as we see Bruce getting him back in. Something I've noticed a lot here, just in this race alone, is a lot of people's guide flags sticking to one side or the other. We messed around with Paul Woosley's car a couple days ago, Friday I guess it was, maybe Thursday, and underneath his guide flag we put a couple nylon washers, and they're super thin. I'm talking like Bible paper thin, like rice paper thin. But we put two of them under there, and that baby freed up, you would not believe, and it got him up just a hair to where he wasn't pulling as much mud on the front end. And we can see a difference here, like he is running on median of a 3.56 to Randy's 3.41. This is negligible, literally, time-wise. The only thing that's really separating Randy from Paul is simply that Randy hasn't wrecked. That's why his median is at a 3.4, where Paul's is at a 3.56. But I'll tell you what, now every time we move that thing, it is like jelly. And then Paul, of course, he also had his wife, Christy Bobby, make up some guide wires, which he is kind of patented, I suppose. But nonetheless, those new guide wires that he's using are kind of come in handy. If one of the wires ends up getting separated, and then you can make that provision during the red flag condition. But what's pretty cool is that they are very, very flexible in the front. And in certain cases, more flexible than some of the lead wire that we have. Because we get a big wad up there coming out of the horseshoe track there, 3 people involved. I don't know if that's a rider there on white lane or not, but we see Glenn Burton getting his car put back on purple and Paul on yellow.
Get ready.
And that's a red flag rotation. Going to leave you guys here with a little bit of pinball technique.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth. Aiming and shooting, the basics. General rule for aiming. To begin with, you can use the playfield's artwork as an
ski pass. That's one of the main important flips for sure. Take a look at this. I don't
ski pass or flipper pass.
But if you want to hear it, look him up.
A ski pass is performed to pass a rolling ball from one flipper to the other. Simply hold up the flipper and the ball will transfer to the other side. When the ball comes down the in-lane and hits the flipper, you can help its momentum with a little upward nudge. Lifting up the receiving flipper at the right time can help to cradle the ball, followed up by a controlled shot. If the ball is too slow during a pass, don't hold up the receiving flipper or you will most likely lose ball control. Ski passes do not work on all games. It depends on factors like ball speed and spin, flipper rubber and angle, and the playfield's pitch. Observe carefully how the ball behaves to understand those factors. Good luck, and don't forget to keep your balls clean. If you wish to support this project, you can do so in the description down below.
We know patients are more than their disease. That's why at Novo Nordisk, we've spent 100 years developing treatments to help unlock humanity's full potential. These are the greats, people living with, thriving with, not held back by, disease. They motivate us to fight diabetes and obesity, rare diseases and cardiovascular conditions for generations to come. So everyone can meet their moment, because your disease doesn't define you. So what will? Novo Nordisk, driving change.
Slap safe. The slap safe is an important emergency response, and you will be shocked how many balls you can save with it. Never watch a ball going straight down the middle without even trying to save it, unless the tilt is set up particularly tight. Slapping the flipper button and cabinet at the same time extend the flipper's reach by moving the playfield under the ball.
Alright, and we are back. And we're going green. And like I said, these guys have been doing it. Oh, we got a car there going backwards on the track. We see Robert Bishop get his car put in. Hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of pinball technique there. I always find it so interesting you know, how people take things that were meant to just be casual, and like, for instance, slot car racing, it's meant to be casual, but then there's always a group of people want to take it to the next level. Can we make it even better? And now we see a group of these guys right here, Randy Kirtley behind all of them, a couple guys wrecking there. Looks like Jay Latham might have came off there. So what a group they had there. But I always find it interesting how that they take the casual and try to push it into skill-based type stuff. And pinball is one that will definitely catch a lot of people by surprise, especially those that have seen pinball before. A lot of people just never understood that pinball was just as much skill-related as pool was. It's kind of like pool on steroids. Like, you really have to have good hand-eye coordination and be able to make those shots on the fly sometimes. And it's just an extra step of skill. Some of the guys that can do it really, really well, like I've seen Jack Danger play games. First time he's played it and wizarded them. It's just amazing to see some of those guys in action. And just to sit back and watch them and learn those skills and for yourself to practice and, you know, go to different places and do that. It brings another level of excitement to something that you wouldn't really put a whole lot of mind to. When you get to that point, you know, you want to travel, you want to try everything, you want to do more and more pinball or more and more slot car racing, whatever it may be. A little bit of body rub coming out of the donut portion of the corner there. Good track call there. Looks like Randy Kirtley getting involved a little bit with Jay Latham. And I believe Glenn Burden there down on that orange one.
Get ready.
That's Paul Woosley on orange, and we see Clay Dame holding him up to make sure that he's able to take off there. Like Jay Latham having some issues there with the guide flag, trying to get it to go back in, but Bruce gets him back in nice and steadily there in the donut portion of the track. Jay Latham's car a lot quicker here tonight. I've noticed just a little bit different on the trigger pull of letting off, but running right there with everybody else, speed-wise for sure. Like I said, everybody's within these anywhere from 3.3 to 3.6 seconds. So you're looking at 0.3 of a second difference on every single lap. If you have to calculate that, that's like a car length, folks. And that's what separates people. Literally, a car length is the difference.
Get ready.
Our medians, let's see, 3.42s, our high median, Randy Kirtley, all the way to a 4.57 of Robert Bishop. So you're looking at 1 second difference with the median. Like I said, these guys are really, really pretty close to each other. Robert Bishop pulling a little bit of a drift move coming out there on red. Robert, he's been doing a lot of farming here lately. He's kind of been out when it comes to being able to practice as much as he would like to. He loves being down here racing with the guys and having a good time running his car. And of course, we love Robert coming out here. And Robert mainly here lately has been focusing a lot on pinball. But I'll tell you what, he's been doing quite well just since he's came back. Madness 48, impressive racing.
Get ready.
Thank you. I'm sure these guys will definitely appreciate that, and I'll let them know too. They do try hard. They come up in here, they do a lot of practicing, some more than others. As you can tell, we got our top 3 or 4 guys that are here constantly. Some of the other guys, they can only make it on the weekends, like Jay and Bruce. But I'll tell you what, even with them just being able to make it on the weekend, they take it serious all week long, folks. They're working on their cars constantly. We see Paul Woosley coming off there. Ooh, what a beautiful cast that Bruce did there as he threw that baby right in without even a moment's notice. And that thing just fell right into the slot. You love to see it. But yeah, we see Jay Latham there on his lid. He's going to be able to fix his own car there. But each one of these guys, I've watched them develop since we've been here, and it used to be a whole lot worse than this. Even a couple weeks ago, before we really started hammering down the track and pushing it down into its position it should have been, we were getting track calls every few seconds and stuff like that. But since then, these guys are really starting, as we're starting to progress to the end of this series, the last weekend that they can come would be the very last weekend of July to enter into the series. These guys are starting to get different motors, different gear ratios, to run stuff that's more similar to their driving style. I mean, even differences in changing of tire compounds because how much rubber's been laid on the track. Since we started this series, this track was brand new and shiny looking. There wasn't no black rubber marks or nothing on this track. I mean, you would have thought this track was brand spanking new. But since the rubber's been laid, we're having a lot more, I guess you would say, stiff car entries and exit problem versus entry problems alone. So what's happening is the grip's being very, very strong and the tires are wanting to snap back. And if you're not in the proper spot on that trigger, you can snap your car back and then end up coming out of the lane. So a lot of guys are opting to change over to Wonder Rubber, which is a more softer type, fuzzier type feeling rubber, not as grippy feeling as, let's say, fish or treated fish. And simply because the treated fish and the fish is what's laying that rubber down. That natural rubber is being laid on the track. So you can actually get better grip with those fuzzier feeling tires now, just simply because there's so much grip on the track that the grippier tires almost get dry slick, in a sense. The whole way around the tire itself is, especially if there's glue on it. It doesn't want to grip going down the backstretch. And I think that's why we're starting to see some of this impression here, is everybody's still using a whole lot of treated fish tires. And you can see how that it's like a little corkscrew when they come around. And what that is it's finally getting grip about right here. But it's still squirrely all the way through this portion. It ain't really getting grip till right there. So a lot of times, they'll bump bodies next to each other. And when they bump those bodies, that's whenever you see the big spills of cars coming off inside here and pairing up. After that, we can go over here and look at a bigger version of that, and we can see that Randy Kirtley's still out in the lead there with 85.2 average laps per heat. That's hauling the mail, folks. And I'll tell you, it's not because his car is any faster than anybody else's. It's just simply because he's kept his car on pretty much this whole race. I don't think I've seen him in one wreck. Paul Woodsley's car is just as fast, if not just a hair bit faster on the backstretch. But he's been involved in a few incidents and came off quite a bit there on Black Lane. As you can tell, he was dive bombing it in there on the horseshoe. I think it was heat 3. And then Glenn Burden there, he's running an impressive race tonight too, as he's climbing up the pack here. We're definitely going to have to keep an eye here on Glenn Burden as we progress through this, as this is one of the races that Glenn's not really been involved in a tremendous amount of wrecks. We'll take over here at the current standings here. I'll leave you here for about 1 minute and 30 seconds if you need to take a picture of this. These are current as of July the 2nd, but it says July 6th. It is current to July 6th, Thursday. But we'll get these updated after this race tonight and our rookie rumble coming up next. right, Alicia, also called the Twin, says, since the series has started, I've watched Randy increase the number of laps consistently. Impressive. Yeah, I mean, my dad's always been known for just locking in on a job and just really just hammering it hard. I mean, I can think back when we were kids. I've probably told you guys this before, but, you know, I thought I was bad to the bone at basketball when I was younger. Like, I mean, and at least around this area, I was one of the best guys. Like, I definitely didn't get picked last, you know. And I thought I was something, but then I was like, come on, Dad, I ain't got no friends out there wanting to play with me. And Livermore being a small town, there wasn't a whole lot of people to play basketball with. So I said, come on out there. And finally, I messed with him enough that he'd come out there and play basketball with me. Well, as soon as he'd come out there and play basketball, man, my dad was the type of dude, he would dunk on you. And you'd be like 10 years old, he'd dunk on you. And the same thing was in slot car racing when we were younger. Like, he raced me and my brother hard, and I'm talking hard. But, you know, looking back on it, I wouldn't have took it any other way. I think it was the best thing that ever happened to us. My brother, he ended up being one of the best open-wheel modified racers that I know of. You know, they called him Livermore Lightning for years. He hates that name, by the way, but next time you see him, definitely give him a shout-out or call him Sauce King Curly. That's his new name right now. But, yeah, I mean, he definitely did well in that K7. And, of course, Randy, he took that passion, him and Glenn Burden both, which Glenn's racing here. He's in third place right now. They both took that passion, and every weekend they were going to Fairbury, or they were going to Nebo, or they were going some dirt track racing in the AMS series. And he was always running up there with the big boys. Now, the thing is, when you race with the big boys, it's big money, and that's one of the biggest issues with racing, that kind of stuff. It gets so expensive to race in those upper races. Now they've traded it all in for an old junker mobile that they race in the 24-hour Lemon series. And y'all can check that out here on Lanes Raceway when they do that. That's coming up here shortly, too. Actually, I think in the next month or so, they're going to be racing in Chicago, so you'll be able to tune in here and, you know, maybe bug old Sauce King Kirtley. Madness 48 just found your YouTube page about a week. Great looking raceway you have, and app. The knowledge of slot cars you give. Just started racing at my local slot car track since January. Well, congratulations, Madness. It's definitely a great, fun time for sure. If at your track they have like an FCR series or something, definitely check that out. I always had so much fun doing that when I was younger. They're called GRCs now. That's what our rookies race. But yeah, it's a fun thing when they lock those gears down and they lock the motors down, and you know, you're racing the racer instead of racing their knowledge, you know. And then that gets you kind of started, gets you kind of hooked. Next thing you know, you're balancing tires. You're like, hey, can I get a comm lathe? Can I, you know, work on my own brushes? Can I, there's so many things you can do to these slot cars. I want to free them up, jig them up in the rear, tap my bushings. The list goes on and on. Of course, here at Lanes Raceway, we're very much an open track. We allow a lot of things to go that most tracks wouldn't, but it's hard to keep people from cheating. I mean, everybody wants to try to skate it to that gray area, so if you make the gray area so huge and open, it's a positive and a negative. It ends up most likely increasing your chance of winning by knowledge alone. But at the same aspect, if you have someone running the track that has knowledge, which I got plenty of it, I've got, you know, at least right at 30 years worth of it, you know, we'll do that for you if you don't know how to do it. I mean, we try to teach our kids in the GRC class all the techniques and all the stuff that would be considered cheating back whenever I was racing. But a lot of it is just kind of skate stuff, beating motors on the shafts, you know, just right to kind of loosen them up, free them up. You know, some people will get in there, they'll take some glue and re-glue the magnets to where that they're set right. I mean, these FK motors, they're kind of tough to deal with because they're all closed can stuff. So you really can't open them up and mess with them. So that's why we run them here. You'll end up doing more harm than good by opening them up. I guess you could put some ball bearings in them, but other than that, I mean, the brushes are so finicky and they don't have a real big half-life. They don't last very long. You know, with an Eagle motor, to be competitive, it's kind of like dirt track racing. You know, you got to tear the motor down after about 3 races. And some of the more competitive people tear it down every race. Well, in this case, you know, after about 3 races, you need to get another Eagle motor. The brushes are pretty much shot. You don't have brakes at that point. And the real reason why is because these guys have open gear ratios. So you know for a fact these guys are going to run low gear ratios to get that top speed and beat people out on before they get to dead man's corner. And then they'll sacrifice the acceleration through the S-turns. And what we've seen ends up being faster. It's not by much, but it's by a little bit. You definitely don't want your car whining out on the backstretch. You want that thing just whining out there before dead man's corner. And it looks like Jay Latham's car there on blue is going to need a push through. We see Clay Dame give him a little push through there. Push him through, Clay. Push him through. There we go. Tom Payton there, he's on black lane there. And most of our guys really love the black lane on this track. We got an ongoing little funny thing to say, pulling Bobby Pierce, because you can get these cars going fast enough, if you look on the bottom portion of your screen, you can get them going fast enough so you can drag the body all the way around the donut portion of the track right there. And you can hear it, man. And sometimes I've been hearing Tom Payton drag his body a little bit going around there in this heat. So, or well, he's in purple. So maybe I'm just hearing things. It could be pinball. I bet that's what it is. They're there on the other side playing pinball. I can't really see the pinball machines from here. Yep, that's what it is. I can hear the clickers now. I was thinking those clickers was the bodies dragging up the side of the donut. It's very similar sound from here in the booth where I'm at. But it is interesting to see those guys be able to do that and hold just enough, I mean, just enough acceleration in that car that you're able to hold that thing down. So I heard Jay Latham there say under the bridge to Bruce Bullington.
Get ready.
Randy Curley really flying right now there with a median of 3.49, a best lap of 3.304. So we can definitely tell his motor is warming up a smidgen because he has been running into the 3.2s, upper 3.2s. But Paul Woosley right there with him. But Glenn Burton, I mean, he is on a mission today. He is not to be put out of this race yet. He's only 2 laps down from Paul Woosley, and I think that's where we're going to see the majority of the excitement take place. It's going to be between Paul Woosley and Glenn Burton. At the end of this heat, though, we're going to see Paul Woosley come out for a couple segments. But in the meantime, let's take a look at some of these averages, see how close we are actually looking here. With Paul and Glenn, 77, 79, still a couple laps different from one another. I thought it would be closer than that. Tom Payton there with an average of 75 to Glenn's 77 average. But down here, look at Bruce Bullington, 78. So the battle might actually be between Bruce, Glenn, and Paul tonight for second place. It's still anybody's ball game here. And I'm not going to try to speculate with as many heats as we still have left to go. We're just fixing to be going into round robin 6 of 11. But just as it's shaping up here, we've got a little bit of a mid-game battle here. Randy Curley definitely having another one of his lucky nights here where he hasn't been involved in anything. I'm beginning to wonder if it's even luck or if he's just actually paying that close attention to the track. And he's doing what we would like to call in the racing community being an alien out there. But nonetheless, I mean, he could be, ladies and gentlemen, he could just be having that much awareness of the track that he knows where the wrecks are and he's just holding up, not getting involved in them. I'm going to take you back over here to a little bit of...
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm going to explain to you pinball skills in depth.
He definitely does have
Aiming and
skills to
shooting,
pay the
the
bills.
basics.
Let's see what
General
we got
rule
here.
for
We'll do a
aiming.
Post pass, that's always a good one.
YouTube is the
Something
new
you
home
definitely
of
want to learn how
NFL
to
Sunday
do.
Ticket. Sign up
And
now
I'll be
and
right
get
back with you in
$50
about
off
a minute and 22
on
seconds.
YouTube and YouTube TV. Terms and embargoes apply.
Post pass. A post pass is used to transfer a cradled ball from one flipper to the other. By releasing and pushing the flipper button, the occurring bouncing pattern should bring the ball to the other side. Make sure to hold up the initiating flipper during the pass until the ball crosses the center line, because more than often the ball also rebounds from the flipper. You can control post passes via releasing times of the flipper button. Those may vary from game to game. Other factors are also determining if and how a post pass works, like playfield geometry and the post and flipper rubbers. Practice by trying different release times and challenge yourself by counting successful post passes back and forth. Post passes do not work on all games. Even on models from the same production line, they may vary. Don't be upset if the passes do not work. Good luck! If you wish to support this project, you can do so in the description.
All right, and we're back. 7 seconds left to go. We'll be going back green racing. That will be a combo there with Play Dane. He said, he asked me what I was doing. I said, well, trying my best to run a little bit of a live stream here. And then Clay's like, yeah, I'm track marshaling. Clay, of course, being on deck right now. He'll be coming back in on red. For those that don't know, you go out on white and you come back in on red. So Bruce coming back in this heat. We see him turning a couple laps there on red so far. Randy Kirby going to be coming out after this heat with 432 laps so far turned. But like I said, the battle is starting to develop here between Glenn Burden, Paul Woosley, and Bruce Bullinson. So definitely need to keep our eyes out on those median scores and best lap times between those two. You can see right now Bruce Bullinson and Glenn Burden both turning 3.77 as their best lap, and their median times of a 3.88, 3.97. Beans, we just now started this heat. These guys definitely have a lot more time to get the rhythm down. Beans that the track is just now really getting the glue spread out nice and decently. These cars are only going to start handling a little bit better. They're only going to start being a little bit faster as we progress through this race. But keeping an eye here on your leader here as he rolls around the horseshoe up underneath the donut portion of the track, racing neck and neck with Bruce Bullinson there on red lanes. He tries to make a dive bomb there around Bruce Bullinson on the outside. He makes it as Bruce kind of checks up there a little bit and lets him go on by. A little bit of an exciting moment there as we see another cluster up taking place here. Jay Latham making the pass on the outside there, coming around the donut portion of Robert Bishop. Robert Bishop coming off there underneath the bridge as we didn't see him come out on the other side.
Get ready.
The Glenn Burden there in the high banks as he goes up underneath the drive there portion of the track around the donut. Glenn Burden been using that red Audi there for quite some time, and I'll tell you what, as for straight line speed, those cars right there are probably the fastest that we've been rolling here lately. I do enjoy those Mid-America bodies, those Audi bodies. They're very, very low profile, and something that I've noticed too is they're very durable to be a 0.7 body thickness. That's something that here at the track, we don't limit the guys on what thickness that they run. They can run all the way from a 5 to a 10. But whatever body you start the race with, you have to end it or you suffer a 10-lap penalty. So you definitely don't want to swap up your body in the middle of the race, because let's see what 10 laps will do to you. Well, they're kind of all over the place right now because we're just now starting there at 6 of 11. But I'll put it like this. At the end of the race, 10 laps could drop you a couple positions, if not more than just a couple. And the same thing goes for the weight. So all these chassis have to weigh at least 105 grams before they get in. But they can run any 4-inch chassis they like. They just have to weigh at least 105 grams, which is a base off of the Champion Turbo Flex Fairview IT Cup Series that we run here at Lanes Raceway. That's what they come weigh in stock. So you can run Mazzettis, you can run JKs, you can run Geminis, you can run Mid-America, anything. Like, it doesn't matter. Just make them weigh the 105, make sure your weight stays in. This coming heat, actually, it's going to be a surprise, is we're going to do a weigh-in. On weigh-ins, they're not allowed to take their car to their bench. They have to bring it into the shop and weigh it first. If we kept them going to the bench, that's a 10-lap penalty. If they do that, then bring it in and weigh it, and then they end up still being light, that's another 10-lap penalty. So you could lose 20 laps on the weigh-in. And then at the end of the race, too, they have the end of the race weigh-in where they all have to meet minimum weight, and if they don't, they lose another 10 laps. So you got an opportunity there losing right at 40 laps. So that's game changing. So definitely keep your weight in your car. A lot of the guys opt to sorter in the lead weight to their chassis for this series, which is not a game-ending thing for your chassis. You just get you some paper towel, heat that sorter up, and you can wipe it right off when this series is over with. But it was a way to kind of bridge the gap for people that had 4-inch chassis and they wanted to get in the race, but they didn't have a 4-inch chassis from Lanes Raceway. They were running something different, whether it be a Flexi 5, Flexi 3, Flexi 2, something of that nature from the 90s, and they want to get in it. We didn't want to limit them. We wanted to make it be as open as possible, similar to how the real LMP races are in real life. You know, some of the guys are running Porsches, some of them are running Mustangs, some of them are running Camaros, some of them are running, you know, late model cars like Bentleys and stuff like that. So that was the whole purpose of this series, was just kind of keeping it looking like a Le Mans race, essentially. And I think it's done quite well. We can see a good rhythm going from the racers here right now. We see Randy Curley making the pass there on Whiteside underneath as he tries to reel in Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington's car so far here today on the stretch definitely has a great acceleration pattern, able to rip in front of Randy about 3 or 4 car lengths there. But Randy making up that time as he makes a little bit of a love nudge there to Bruce Bullington. Randy Curley actually letting off a little bit there after he did do that, so that's respectful for that tight of racing there between him and Bruce. But yeah, I believe, you know, respectfully saying this, Bruce Bullington's American Muscle Cobra car in straight line speed, it's unmatched so far. But I will tell you this, he does suffer a lot of downforce when it comes to coming through the corners. So there's a trade-off for everything. You can have top speed, but you lose that downforce. That's what Randy Curley's Lola from JK is doing to catch up. So when it comes to body selection here for the LMP Thunder Series, the only rule is you can't have side wings on any of the bodies. So no GTP bodies. But if you got a car, we'll even vacuum form you one after your model if you want to do that. But Randy Curley's car there, him, Jordan, and I believe Guillermo Sauer are the ones that run those Lola bodies. And they're nice bodies. They're very low to the ground. Not as low as like Clay's body, but pretty low. 85.2 is average for Randy Curley. Glenn Burden, 76.8. Average with 461 total laps. Paul Woosley there was 79 as he set out that heat. And we see Tom Payton 76.2. So Tom Payton and Glenn Burton might have a little bit of a battle there to mix up. Bruce Bullington jumped from a 78 to a 777 here. So not too bad there, as he's going to increase that definitely as he goes into the lower lanes there. Like I said, it's going to be a battle, I believe, between Bruce and Paul before it's all said and done for second place. But don't count Glenn Burton out. I mean, he's increasing that too, 76.8. It's going to be an interesting couple heats there for him. 6 of 11 here. Going to leave you guys this time with current standings, and I'll be back in here in just a moment. 5 seconds left to go, and Randy Kirtley is going to be bringing his car in. So he's going to set his 3 out. Clay Danes coming back in on red lane. We'll see how well he does there with his Chrysler body. So no longer is Bruce the only man there representing for American Muscle. If we get a little incident there, heard a hard hit there is time to hit the track button there.
Yellow flag.
Jay Latham's car there in some serious disarray. As that thing come hauling the mail off of there and slammed very, very vigorously into Dead Man's Corner.
Yellow flag.
Randy Kirtley going around there to get, I believe, Clay Dane's car put back on. This is why we do track calls up underneath the bridge. It's simply because it is a pain in the neck to get those on in a timely fashion. We have those LED lights also up underneath the bridge. They can't touch you. They're little glass squares, essentially. So we don't want the guys, track marshals, getting their big rush, jamming their hand up underneath there and getting bloody for no reason. It is a blood sport, but nonetheless.
Get ready.
Clay Dane's going to get Jay Latham put back in there on the black lane. It's always best. See, Paul Woosley's limiting his peripheral vision to about right here where he's standing. It's always best to kind of stand back here somewhere so that you can see the cars and what's going on. Kind of hard to tell the guys that. I've mentioned it a few times, but they just don't like to listen. Like, for instance, same thing too, the track call button's supposed to be attached to the chair there. The way both hands are free to get cars put back on. The roller, though, on the other hand, is on the glass over there behind the guys. We see Randy Kirtley there getting the roller there, just rolling it down. Guys always wonder if there's something stuck in the track. Most of the time what it is their weighted guide flag, the weight's popping out, causing them to pinch in those tighter corners. So I'd be Jay Latham there. His weight's probably popped out a little bit, or the other worse side effect would be running a flat track JK guide flag, which if you buy a JK car here, we swap it out for a Colford at no cost. Just simply because we have some really tight corners that are banked, and it tends to get caught up in those corners. So rather your car make it through there smoothly than to get hung up, because the more free the car is, the faster it can go, the better it'll handle too.
Get ready. Go.
What a dive bomb there by Tom Payton there.
Yellow flag.
Tom Payton ended up rushing a little too hard. It was a nice dive bomb coming up underneath, but didn't capitalize coming around the donut as he came off through the S-turns there. Ended up riding on black lane there. But other than that, a beautiful dive bomb. Something that if Tom comes back and watches this heat, it's something he would probably want to mark. Maybe he can remember how it felt to do that dive bomb, because that was one of them dive bombs that would have netted you a 3.3 second lap time if you could have made that transition through the S-turn. Tom Payton just recently built him another car. Currently running the best lap of the 3.465. That's very respectful for sure. A little less than a tenth of a second different from some of the faster lap times we see. Nobody really running in the 3.3s currently, but nonetheless, running an X25, which is an older JK chassis. That's what I used to run in my LMP class. And I'll tell you what, it's a good chassis. It's like a two-pan version of a JK11. A little bit of differences there. You know, JK11 being a lot more of a flatter nose there in the front end and wider pans there on the sides, and they're all three separate pans, but relatively handling-wise, pretty close. Now, of course, the JK11, in my personal opinion, the best handling chassis I've ever seen in my life. But finding somebody to be able to build that chassis flat, true, and perfect, it's a tough thing. See Bruce Bullington coming out there on green lane. A couple other cars coming out. Looks like Robert Bishop's car. Randy Curley getting Jay Latham put back on black. What a timely fashion we got with these track marshals here as we see Clay Dane coming out there on red lane. Just a little bit overzealous there, pumping back into those tires. Like I said, this is a difference of ratio, or not ratio, but a different compound of these tires causing some of these cars to hook up in spots that they really don't want to. So to negate this last order we made from our distributor, I ended up getting some big boy hubs. So a lot of these guys are running medium to small hubs. That's the center portion of the wheel, and their diameters are not that big, like 310s, 410s, like really small diameters. So I bought some big boy ones. They're like 550s, and it looks like low profile tires and stuff. And I think that would negate a lot of this issue now that we have so much rubber laid on the track. You know, the snap back from, you know, a lot of tires ends up having these cars snap back aggressively. Whereas if you had the smaller hub tires, if they snap back, they're just basically going to lose traction. So forces you to be a better racer, essentially, but at the same aspect, there is a negative draw. If there's any kind of unevenness in the track, it could cause your car to bounce out. So exchange for better handling or, you know, better terrain, essentially. A lot of guys opt to do 760s over 790s for that matter because they not as much meet as 790s. We see a full-blown incident take place there in the horseshoe involving Tom Payton and Robert Bishop. Robert Bishop getting put back on by Glenn Burton there. Minute and 36 seconds left to go in this heat. Glenn Burton, your current leader, he's going to be coming out this heat. Total turn 511 last week. Glenn Burton exchanged a 555 for a 598, and it looks like Glenn Burton is at 511 currently, and he'll get another heat to go. So we'll see by the end of this if he'll be able to make above a 598, which is what he ran Thursday. And I think it's very much possible if he can keep his car there on the track. Tom Payton currently running a 440. Tom Payton ran a 609, folks. If he runs a 600 here, he's going to jump up big time on the leaderboard standings. Paul Woozer ran a 656. He's going to be close to that tonight for sure. Randy ran a 679, also going to be close to that tonight. And that was from Thursday's results.
Get ready.
Ooh, what a pass Bruce Bullington did there on Glenn Burton. Right there, just dive bombing it deeper. And that's what made the change there. A little bit off-putting even. If I was racing out, I would have probably ended up wrecking myself. Robert Bishop getting caught up there in a little bit of incident there as he comes off a purple lane and drives it all the way to the red lane there on Clay Dane. Clay was able to get him put back on, and they go back green racing. 33 seconds left to go.
Yellow flag. Get ready.
See, this is not the track marshalling we need. Both those hands been free. We got those cars on pretty quick. That's why I don't like the racers to hold the track call button. It negates them to want to hit the button more often. That is only supposed to be hit when cars are off under the bridge. We need a green track flowing here. So after this heat, I'll be going back out there, tying that back down to the chair there. And that's it, folks. All right, racers, do not go to your pit stations. Bring your cars in to be weighed.
Yeah. I made that way. I gotta get the car first. I know.
The race starts at 1 minute.
All right, so we're kind of somewhat in an intermission here as you see me pausing this. The guys get as much time as they need there in the pits to work on their cars, let them cool down a little bit. I'm going to leave you guys here with a little bit of the pinball scores here. Currently, it's going on here at Lanes Raceway. I'll be right back with you just as soon as everybody's back on the field. All right, it looks like we got the racers getting ready to roll here. All right, racers, everybody ready? All right, watch your lights. Here we go. Took me a minute there to find that. I forget that I am controlling this from the main computer here in the shop, but we got a remote service that remotes out to the computers that are out there that the guys are racing from. There's actually a computer for this orange track underneath the track right here. I'm remoting into that through our network to control it from in here in the booth. So it looks like that car on blue needs to come back a smidgen. Yep.
Get ready.
Paul Woodley about lost a finger back there on the high banks. I was teasing. Oh, we got a rider here in a hard hit there on Black Lane. I believe Robert Bishop floored one of two cars. Well, somebody's under that bridge, because I heard it hit. And it hit hard. He gets put back on yellow there. So a little WOT action there, also known as wide open throttle, smacking a car in. I guess that's one way to get the people off the racetrack. It's also another way for Lanes Raceway to sell guide flags, and we love it. So, you know, if the racers want to beat and bang that rough and be that rude to each other, by all means, we got guide flags in here for sale. Come get you another Cofer. We've seen it before. There was one race, we've had 3 or 4 guys at one time simultaneously bust off their guide flags. It's a very, very bad day for them, but a good day for Lanes Raceway and selling guide flags. Usually when you hear a guy say track or you hear a guy say bridge, you know, sometimes it's not bad to just kind of lift the trigger. But at the same time, if you are on ride, you need to call the person's lane out. So if it's black, you need to say black. That way that black knows to let off the trigger. And this is kind of hard to do sometimes, especially if you don't have a whole lot of experience racing slot cars. And that's why we see a lot of these cars smack that wall down there in Dead Man's Corner. So right now our track marshals there, Paul Woosley and Randy Kirtley currently. And I believe Glenn Burden there in the middle portion of the donut there, getting cars put back on. So we got 3 marshals here right now. Got one under the bridge, and that's a good track call there by Randy Kirtley. Anytime you hear that, just do it. I don't want you guys getting hurt sticking your arms under there.
Get ready.
Sometimes they say bridge, and the car's right there on the side of the bridge, and they can't see it because guys have to look over the bridge. They can't really do that. And in that case, don't hit the button. Just put them back on. But the guys know that. And as we can see too, I tied the button back to the chair. And the reason why is so that our track marshals have 2 hands to put cars back on and get it done in a timely fashion. We don't want to shut the track off like last heat on every time a car comes out. I very much discourage that here, especially for a pro class. If we got to run 3 races here, and time does end up being a factor here, so we got to keep these babies rolling. Plus the rhythm just gets murdered. We've seen it before where a rhythm of these guys, they suffer severely. And see right now, these guys got good rhythm going. Very few wrecks are taking place. Guys are kind of staggering themselves out, trying to make that push just a little bit. We can see Bruce there on blue lane as he comes to reel in Jay Latham there. He's able to do it as he makes a perfect fluid motion there through the donut portion of the track. I think he actually got into Jay a little bit there and gave him just a little bit of a love nudge. But nonetheless, Glenn Burden was able to get him put back on in a timely fashion. Everybody kind of spacing out there. Another fast car here tonight. Clay Dane, a little bit slow through the S-turns and stuff, what's causing him a little bit of his issue there. But on the backstretch stuff, he's definitely got a fast car. Guys are still trying to learn this track too. That S-turn, I'm telling you guys, it may not look that bad on screen because you see these guys going so hard. But I will put it like this: that S-turn is a tricky monster to get. It's a mind screw. So, like, your mind tells you to do one thing, or it tells you to be lazy and just kind of like hold it at a certain speed to get through. But I will put it like this. It's brutal because to do it fast, you have to take into account every one of those little humps. And I think it does cause a lot of issues for our racers. There goes Kay, number 1 pinball player in Tennessee right now. She goes to go home. She's been bringing my wife a lot of plants and stuff from her place. She's a botanist by trade. There's an actual better term than botanist. I mean, I know him as botanist, but she's, I want to say like a mycologist or something. She's a scientist basically for plants. And she knows all the names of the plants. Like, she could walk outside and tell you the name of everything. And it's kind of mesmerizing, really, that she knows all the names and stuff. She knows the, I guess, the Latin names and everything. But she brings my wife in some very strange plants sometimes, and our house is starting to look a little bit like a jungle. We see Bruce there putting his own car back in on blue. We got Ryder there on black, and we can see Bruce able to put his hand in front of his car there with 35 seconds left to go to get his car put back on. But yeah, I mean, ever since we've had pinball tables here, which has been day 1 since August 4th of last year, we've come a long way pinball-wise, from 3 machines now to 7. And I'll tell you what, the community's come together. They really enjoy it. I just think they've really never really delved too deep into the professional scene of pinball play, and we're one of those places that actually offer that kind of skill-based environment for sure. And she comes in here and she definitely puts in some hurting when it comes to some of the scores. I said, ladies and gentlemen, you put in the time and the skill and the effort, you do get rewarded. And like I said, Kay, she's been in a few of our pinball competitions here. A little bit of a neck-and-neck battle there as Bruce goes to give a little bit of a love tap there to Tom Payton, pushing him out. But you know, that's racing, folks. If it ain't rubbing, it ain't racing. And Tom and Bruce running there neck and neck with each other. Their median's only off by about 1/10 of a second, but they were running neck and neck there through the S-turns 2 laps in a row. I was kind of keeping my eyes on it. Didn't know if it's going to develop into anything, but sure enough, it did, as Bruce gave him just a little bit of, hey, I'm here. Recognize that I am here. We go here to scene 5 here. We can see Tom Payton now currently your leader with 537. How close is that? As he's got one more heat left to go. Tom Payton, last race was 609. Going to be pretty close to what he ran last week, within a lap or so. So he may develop into something a little bit better than he did last week. Glenn Burden there with 534. Glenn Burden ran a 598. I believe Glenn Burden can definitely reach that this next heat and increase his overall laps. Randy Curler there with 511, as he's probably going to be coming back in this time, I believe. Jay Latham there with 71.8 as an average. Going to leave you guys here with the current standings here at Lanes Raceway. These will be updated tonight, and I'll be right back with you whenever we go into our round robin 9 of 11. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can see Tom Payton making his way back around there. Looks like Randy Curley's on deck, so he'll be coming in this next heat after this, so he'll still have 2 heats left to run. But right now, we're dialing her down and we're getting ready to go green. Our track marshals currently seems to be Glenn Burden and Randy Curley. And we are green to go. Glenn Burden taking his position there at the outer end of the donut portion of the track. As we get a track call and a call high to the high side there, I think that to be Tom Payton's car rolling hard.
Get ready.
A yellow flag, a car up underneath the bridge.
Get ready.
After this race, we'll be shutting this live stream down for the LMP Thunder Series, and we'll be starting another one very, very shortly afterwards for our final race of this evening called the Rookie Rumble. We got several kids out there biting at the bit to get in that, plus a few of the adults are in that class too. We Clay Dame, Bruce Bullington, Jay Latham, they're all in that Rookie Rumble class also as the adults. They're racing for 6 months of track time here at Lanes Raceway and a chance to win a 4-inch car. As we get arrived there on orange, that's Robert Bishop's car, popped out into Jay Latham's lane there. Bruce Bullington quickly getting him put back on. We go back green racing. Randy Curley on deck controlling the track button. Let's see if we can find some interesting battles taking place here. Bruce Bullington 401, Paul Woosley 411. Both running about a 3.7, 3.74. And that is red and purple lane, opposite ends of the track there. Half a lap difference between the two. We see Paul Woosley trying to reel in Bruce there, but to no avail. Both of these guys running there neck and neck. We see Bruce actually come off there on the donut portion of the track and smack the car of Jay Latham so hard that he's having issues getting it back in the spot there on the donut portion. A little bit of a neck and neck going on here between Clay Dane and Robert Bishop as Clay Dane drives him deep and pushes Robert Bishop out underneath the bridge. That's racing. And those guys probably rode together. There might be some conversation talk about that on the way home. Bruce Bullington's car there on purple lanes. He drives it pretty deep and hard. As he's going to reel in Clay Dame there on blue lane. And Clay Dame couldn't hold it up as he comes off there in the donut portion of the track. Get another yellow flag here as a car is off underneath the bridge. Right there in your screen, in the upper right-hand portion of your screen there, we see Tom Payton on white and Paul Woosley on red. Usually these guys are neck and neck with each other. As we can see, Tom Payton there leading the way right now. He's going to come out of his heat, this heat, and he's going to finish his racing career track marshaling. And still yet neck and neck, we see Jay Latham there leading the pack for them on orange as Jay takes over second place right now. And Paul Woosley there in third. Paul Woosley making a pass there on Tom Payton as he lifts. And it looks like Jay Latham's car coming out there in the upper portion of the donut. All these guys getting put back in a timely fashion. We see a little bit of a cluster taking place as we see that same dive bomb of Clay Dane done to Robert Bishop yet again as he puts him in the wall. Down on Deadman's corner. I heard a really coming out of the mouth of Robert Bishop as I don't think he liked that too much. But nonetheless, If you got advantage, I guess you got advantage. That's how they do in the video game world. They drive her real super deep and they lean on you for the most part. Can't really get away with that racing something like iRacing or something of that nature, but any arcade type game, I guess that's one of the go-tos. Lean up against them and drive them deep. We see a little bit of that here at Lanes Raceway, it seems. Kind of spacing out a little bit there. A real hard dive bomb down there on red lane. I believe that's Paul Woosley. Dove her down there just a little too deep. Minute and 42 seconds left to go. Tom Payton, your leader. 588 total laps, followed by Jay Latham with 478. Jay Latham's going to be running this heat and another heat before he sits out.
Get ready.
Paul Woosley, he's in for the remainder. We use European rotation here, not North America or American rotation. So we skip every other lane. We got another car coming off there. That looks to be the car of Clay Dane.
Get ready.
Christy Bobby there helping track marshal the horseshoe portion of the track there. She is the lady married to Paul Woosley. She's also the one that helped make those guide wires that we got here, special guide wires here at Lanes Raceway. We call them Cherokee Twists, and they're pretty cool. So if you guys are looking to get some new guide wires, maybe check those out. We sell them for $7 for like a piece, you know, right at 4 or 5 foot long. So you can get several cars made out of that. Goes to benefit Paul Woosley's racing career and also benefit Lanes Raceway keeping the lights on. We love to keep the lights on here for our racers. They all kind of clustering up again, and there's a yellow car pushed to the outside. I couldn't see which one it was. It looks to be Jay Latham there on orange got pushed to the outside there. Anytime a cluster takes place, nobody likes to lift. 48 seconds left to go. We got a couple beautiful yellow cars running neck and neck. That's Jay Latham and Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington running off and leaving Jay there. He's got some top-end bang there on that car. And I'll tell you what, been a force to be reckoned with the past couple times that he's raced. Currently, I believe Bruce Bullington to be in second position when it comes to points-wise, and deservingly so, as he's always built a very clean and organized, engineered car here at Lanes Raceway. Sometimes has a slow start to things, but as he's put most of his dedication into GRC before, he's now starting to learn the intricacies of the 332nd axle here at Lanes Raceway, really pushing those cars to the finish and how smooth they are. Bruce Bullington there currently in 4th position, down low, in a 3.70 median tied with Paul Woosley. Like I said, these guys are going to be battling it out. Best lap 3.534, 3.518 of Bruce Bullington.
Red flag.
Get a red flag rotation. That's the end of your round robin 9 of 11. I'm going to take you over here and we're going to look at some.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth. Aiming and shooting, the basics. General.
Let's do perfect aim this time.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth.
Slap save. We haven't done slap save yet. We'll flicker over to there. I'll see you guys here in just a few moments. The current leaders here average of 76.8
Slap save.
Tom Payton, 76.3
The slap save is an important emergency response, and you will be shocked how many balls you can save with it. Never watch a ball going straight down the middle without even trying to save it, unless the tilt is set up particularly tight. Slapping the flipper button and cabinet at the same time extend the flipper's reach by moving the playfield under the ball. Slap saves won't affect the tilt bob too much, since the impacts are hard and short and the second slap recenters the machine. Judge which flipper is closer to the ball, or if you're not sure, start with your dominant hand. Slap the flipper button, followed up by a second slap with the other hand. The first flipper should hit the ball at a horizontal angle for maximum reach, and the second flipper flails away the ball, with the downside of losing ball control. If your flipper's reach wasn't enough, a nudge pass always could have saved the ball. However, nudge passes will affect the tilt much more than a slap save. For slower balls in the area between the flippers, slap saves are your best friend. You can save balls from unfortunate rebounds, failed microflips and rolling balls off the flipper's tip. This will step up your juggling game to the next level. You also can slap the machine just once, with the goal to get the ball to the opposite inlane or flipper area. This requires some experience, and you have to take the strong impact on the tilt bob into account due to the one-directional force. Practice. You can internalize your hand coordination with dry runs before you start a real game. Later you should be able to slap safe without thinking about the movement at all. Try to get away with the least amount of force and evaluate the subsequent bouncing pattern of the ball. Good luck and don't hurt yourself. If you wish to support this project, you can do so in the description down below. You can slap balls.
Alright, hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, that looks like I've been out too late. Hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of pinball technique in our commercial break there. 13 seconds left to go. We're going to be going back green racing. Just talked to Tom and Glenn. Looks like Tom got himself 6:14 this time, so that's better than what he ran Thursday. He ran a 6:09. And I knew that if he kept it in the 600s, he's going to be pushing up there towards second and third place here shortly with what we have so far in the leaderboards. Going by green racing here, first turn a lap, I don't know, it was like three of them, Clay, Robert, and Randy. But nonetheless, we are on round robin 10 of 11. We got this one and one more to go as we see Glenn Burton there, long arms Glenn Burton trying his best to get that car put back on purple with his Clay Dame and his Chrysler. The only other racer here today to be running an American muscle car. A little bit of a cluster up there. Tom Payton there taking control of the horseshoe portion of the track. Glenn Burton will be coming back in this next heat. He's going to try to beat his lap times. Glenn Burton currently has 5:98 for what he got Thursday. We'll see if he can beat his Thursday lap time. A hard hit up underneath Dead Man's Corner. 4 minutes and 19 seconds left to go. Randy Curley out there in your lead, holding it down. 522 total laps run, and he's definitely going to be back in here for the rest of the remainder. Paul Woodley going to have to make up quite a substantial amount to catch, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this might be Randy Curley's last heat. I could be wrong on that. Bruce Bullett's in there. Tom Payton getting him put back on. Done an excellent job. Tom, being a shorter stature man there, was able to keep his shirt from hitting any of the other cars. That's a sign of a good track marshal right there, ladies and gentlemen. Caring about the other cars first.
Get ready.
Jay Latham there in second place there with 519, having a very good race for Jay. Not really experiencing a whole lot of bad luck like he usually does. You know, Jay Latham, just an all-around good guy. I'm glad to see him doing so well here tonight. Just a couple laps down from Randy. Now, of course, he'll be coming out this heat, and I believe he'll be done. But he did touch second place for sure there with 521 laps so far. If he could get up at least to 555, that would have been a low one for Glenn Burton anyway. I've only got so much stuff here. I'm just looking at the previous Thursday. I just know that we took Glenn's low of 555 off the mark because he's raced more than 8 races. So after we race those 8 races, all new races, if they're better than your previous race low, we do a direct exchange and take that race out and exchange it for that new race. That's the whole point of these series, is to get better. And if you put in the time, money, and effort to get better, you should be rewarded. Bruce Bulletin's car there on Black Lane looks exceptionally quick. I don't know if it's the yellow or what, but man, when that thing comes around Black Lane, it is just really, really flying. Bruce Wilton very quick and very agile through the black lane there. Glenn Burton getting those cars put back on in a timely fashion. Oh, a little bit of a hang up there on black lane. Not the first time I've seen that today. We get two cars, Robert Bishop and Bruce Bulletin, getting involved in a little bit of an incident there. Clay Dame narrowly missing that. 2 minutes left to go, and it looks like Randy Kirtley out in quite a substantial lead there. Best lap of the 3.298. His car being able to cool down that much. He's back in the 3.2s, folks.
Get ready.
He is definitely the final boss here at Lanes Raceway. Any video game will tell you at the end there is a final boss, and it's always the most brutal. But when you overcome that final boss, there's just such a rush of adrenaline and everything. It's like, man, I ain't gonna sleep for a week. That was so good. And I think these guys here, they're definitely pushing to get that kind of victory over Randy Kirtley. We got several cars here involved in the incident. Somehow or another, Randy Kirtley was able to inch it through, though. This man has luck on his side, folks. As all those guys were involved in an incident, almost a full-blown J here. So Randy Kirtley on red was able to make it through. So it just goes to show, you know, a little bit of luck goes a long way. A little bit of perception also. If you can keep your eyes ahead of the field there.
Get ready.
Getting warm in here yet again. Drop frames are doing great today. Only 63 drop frames here, which is good for this old machine. And I'll tell you what, she is pumping some heat up my pants leg, and I'm sweating like crazy right now. Still got one more race here left to go at Lanes Raceway. It's going to be a little bit more easier to see the next race that's coming up. Of course, it's going to be our Rookie Rumble race coming up next. We got Robert Bishop's car put back on orange, and the black car Bruce Boynton put back on. My wife coming over here fanning me. I mean, really, I can barely feel it. It's that hot. Well, thank you. Probably a good 80 degrees here in this shrouded sheet that I'm in for your viewing pleasures. If y'all don't know this, I'm not actually sitting in some kind of business room with all these different monitors. It's a green screen, you know, or a green sheet in this case. Oh, you're fine. 36 seconds left to go. It's been a pretty good heat here so far. We can see the medians here tying up pretty close there. Paul Woosley and Bruce Bullington right there neck and neck. Yet again, folks, like I said, these guys are going to be very, very close with one another. Clay Dame and Robert Bishop pretty close together. Both these guys work in the farm fields for America, and thank God for that, because without them, you know, we won't eat. So definitely respect your farmers. You know, everybody respects our soldiers, but they should also respect our farmers too. They got a very hard job, very difficult, and very taxing on the body for sure. So, thank the Lord for them for sure. 20 seconds left to go. Randy Kirtley out by about 20 laps or so from Jay Latham. Jay Latham going to be popping off this time, as he's going to be our track marshal for our last heat. And we see Paul Woosley and Bruce Bullington there, right there close together. Clay Dame, Robert Bishop close together also. On deck, we got Glenn Burton. He's going to come in for the final heat. And we're going to see Randy Kirtley move to green lane. So after that, we can see our averages are going to be really close here, folks. Glenn Bird and Bruce Bullington, they're right there neck and neck now. 76.3, 76.3, 534, 534. This is going to be the race to be watching when they come back in. Of course, Glenn's going to be on red. Bruce is going to be on yellow. It's going to be interesting to see where these two finish. 76.8, Tom Payton, just a hair bit above those guys. Randy Curley, 85.1. Jay Latham, 72. Paul Woosley, 78.9. He's stepping into a different category also, somewhere in between Randy and Bruce and Glenn. Like I said, Clay Dame and Robert Bishop, 68.9, 64.7. They're kind of in their own little category right now as they work out what's best for them too. Let's take a look here real quick. We'll do some comparisons here. As we can see that right now, Bruce Bullington in second place with his 8 races, Glenn Burden with his 8 races, and Randy Kirtley with his, also Paul Woosley. All 4 of these guys today, we're going to be able to tell whether or not they're going to be able to replace some of those lap times. We'll get those updated today on Facebook or tonight before I leave, and get those also sent in to Blake Smith at WBIO 94.7 for the radio show coming this Tuesday. 1 minute and 22 seconds left to go, and I'll be right back with you. All right, folks, 1 second. Here we go. Alicia, also called the twins, said, "Let's go, Dad." He's got to show up today to gain some more laps here for sure. Of course, we know that Bruce is battling against Glenn, Paul, and Randy. Just from what we've seen there on the current standings. Jay Latham there, didn't see that car. That is Paul Woosley's car, and the yellow car of Bruce Bullington, both of them coming off. Right there in front of them, Randy Curley able to gain a couple laps on them for those wrecks. Clay Dame, everybody else on 6 laps there. Paul Woosley there turning 7, followed by Glenn and Bruce. It's going to be a fight here for third place here. Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burden there, 543, 543. Yellow lane and red is the difference. Yellow lane just a little bit out in front of red as we see Glenn Burden trying his best to stay on. Probably the best tactic here for Glenn Burden is literally just to stay on. Probably not going to be able to keep up with the power of yellow lane there, being able to run as hard. But with Bruce Bullington running neck and neck there with Paul Woosley trying to gain some of those laps, it ended up costing him the lap. Therefore, that's what Glenn Burden needs to rely on here right now to be able to capitalize against Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington 52, Glenn Burden 52. Bruce Bullington right now getting in some contact yet again with Paul Woosley, as Paul Woosley is hungry. He wants past, but will Bruce Bullington there on yellow let him pass? And he did. He let him pass. This time he was made about successful here. Like I said, Glenn Burden just hanging on there for his red light, because red is a tough lane, folks. It's one of them hard to master, and I think he's doing a great job just running good laps here on red, getting it the best he can. He's still within 1 lap of Bruce Bullington, but Bruce is slowly but surely inching up there on Glenn Burden in this race. As we see, it looks like, yep, it looks like Bruce come off there, so Glenn was able to close the gap. Like I said, it's going to be a nail biter here, folks, between Glenn Burton there on red lane and Bruce Bullington on yellow. It all boils down to this. Root for your favorite driver right now. It's going to boil down to, not what Glenn Burton wanted to see there, as he lost that lap there, and a quick back up on the button there.
Get ready.
And anyways, right there on the inside line there, we seen through the S-turns there, just a crook over of that guide flag from Glenn Burton. It was so tight that Jay Latham had to fix it. That's like I keep telling you guys out there, make sure that your guide flags, you don't have to do what Jay just did right there. Whether you can get them put right back on. They need to be free so that they can stick back to the center. But other than that, like I said, Glenn Burton showing an impressive run here tonight also with Bruce Bullington. 2 minutes and 22 seconds left to go. Glenn, all he had to do was increase better than his lowest laps, which I don't currently know what that is, but Thursday it was 555. Right now he's at 571, and he's still got 2 minutes left to go. He might be able to make it to what he did Thursday at a 598, but it's going to be close. As these guys are usually turning somewhere around 70 to 80 laps a heat. Bruce Bullington getting him somewhat of a little bit of a cushion there, 3 laps ahead of Glenn Burton. Bruce is just going to have a unruly car to be able to lose that to Glenn Burton. And so far he's been able to run very, very cleanly there on yellow lane. So I believe Bruce is going to solidify himself a 3rd position here. With a minute and 59 seconds left to go, unless something drastic takes place. Of course, we see Glenn Burton here now. He's trying to push the subject, trying to get what he can out of his car. Just very, very, very hard to get a lot of push out of a car on the red lane, simply because of dead man's corner. That little bit of a turn there is so detrimental. But just what I'm seeing here right now, Glenn is going to be turning pretty impressive amount of laps there on red lane, just because he's only been involved in, I think, 2 incidents this race, running good consecutive laps here. That's the key at slot car racing. Keep your cars on, and you will go far. And Glenn has definitely been showing that tonight. Clay Dane coming up from the mist there, running 53 laps there on black lane, pulling the Bobby Pierce. Robert Bishop back in the game here. He's right there with Clay Dane. Bruce Bullington, what a race he's been having here today as he's coming for that 3rd position. What a coast he got there through the S portion of the track after it was off. He made it all the way through the S turns there. So that's definitely good for Bruce as he's going to be coming right into the backstretch full throttle. 59 total laps turned. Paul Woosley, though, man, coming out of the gate, he's ready to fire on all cylinders. Like I said, he's somewhere in a different category above Bruce and Glenn currently, running a little bit higher, but he's not quite there to Randy Kirtley's standard yet. But, man, he is nipping at the heels of Randy. It's got to make Randy sweat a little bit. Simply because the only difference between these guys really, if we take a close look here at their medians and best laps, we've seen it all day, they've been right up each other, very, very close. The only thing that's really separating it is simply because Paul's come off a few times. But once Paul gets that rhythm down and he's able to keep that car on just like Randy, I think we're going to see some knockout drag-outs between him, Gabriel Kirtley, and Randy Kirtley. Whether or not he can get it done this season or it'll be the next season with the next set of cars. But admirable at the very most. We can see that Paul Woosley coming out from a victory in the Oval Series last series. He's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and he keeps getting better and better, and it's very impressive. Another one that's not technically on here right now, but Tom Payton also running very impressively today, too, with his new chassis, the X25 from JK. He was very pleased in it, and I was pleased to see what he could run, too. I'm excited to see everybody's racing scores here at the end of this 18 seconds, as we're going to call the guys final to come in and make sure that they weigh in and get their pictures made. 5 laps separates Bruce Bullington from Glenn Burton. Clay Dane there, 67 total laps turned there on black lane, pulling the old Bobby Pierce. 61 turn there from Robert Bishop. 3.3 to 3.6 on average, about what people are running. 1 second, and here we have it, folks. Here are your standings. All right, racers, grab your cars. Let's get them weighed. But our top three here tonight is going to be Randy Kirtley, Paul Woosley, and Tom Payton. Narrowly. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Bruce Bullington there, 6'10", 6'14". Paul Woosley, 6'32", 6'81". We'll get these weighs in, and I'll tell you if anything changes. Everybody checks out weight. That is your top three. All right, folks, the weights are in. Everybody has passed scale and passed weight. So your top three is Randy Kirtley, Paul Woosley, and Tom Payton. Just for purposes of comparison here, Randy Kirtley just dropped a 622 for a 679 Thursday. And here he is now running a 681 today. So he even had a better race today with more people than he did on Thursday. So 681. Randy Kirtley keeps on impressing here at Lanes Raceway. Paul Woosley there dropped a 585 for a 656 Thursday. And then here he is running a 632 today. He might actually have another race that he can drop off there. I know Paul has been suffering from some issues with his car early on, so I'm sure that this race here is definitely going to bump him up quite a bit. As for Tom Payton, he had a 609 last race, and he's going to be able to add a 614 today, and I think this might get him into his 8th race. As for Glenn Burden, he had a 555 that he dropped out for a 598 Thursday. And Glenn Burden has now got a 605. So he's definitely going to be increasing on his total lap numbers. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all we have here for the LMP Thunder Series. As I say, guide is them. Good job, Tom. I will relay that. Tom did run a exceptional race with his new chassis, the X25. So for those that are maybe wanting to try to invest in a new chassis there, it did help Tom quite a bit. He really enjoys how it handles. But that's all we got here for the LMP Thunder Series. Stick around. Coming up next, we're going to have the Rookie Rumble Series. That's our adult class for the Rookie Series. And check those guys out on the oval. But this is Donovan Kirtley here at Lanes Raceway for the LMP Thunder Series, and God bless you.